Good afternoon. So since this is the last, I think, session of the day, I'm going to keep it light by giving you some definitions, some philosophy points, and some political or polemical statements. Okay, so you are not going to agree with what I'm going to say, but this is exactly why I'm here. Okay, so I'm going to try to redefine IoT. Today, there are things, and those things, they are doing whatever they are supposed to do, and they are doing it well, okay? But they are doing it in their own silo. It doesn't really matter until, we say that things are going to be much better if we connect them. So first of all, I'm not sure about that. Of course, in a session that is going to talk about IoT, it's not very good to say that it might not be good to connect things. But, I don't really see why it's interesting to connect my coffee machine. I don't really see it because of the states of the IoT today. If you are looking at what IoT is today, it's basically providing some kind of a cloud that is going to allow you to do two kinds of things with the connected things. It's going to be able to store the data from those objects. Storing data from my coffee machine, I'm not sure it's interesting. Could be. People are dreaming about, being able to manage them remotely or to see if they are going to fail or if there is no more coffee or no more water or whatever. So maybe it's interesting. So we can think about that. But today, we are going to see that most of the data that is being collected is not being used anyway. The other thing is we are going to be able to remote control the coffee machine. Great. That's exciting. Of course, when you are doing that with your lights, the very first time you take your phone, and you play with the application that is going to turn on and off the light. You are going to, have fun with your kids for about 5 minutes. But, after that, it's going to be kind of old. So I don't think that it's very exciting today. And we have plenty of examples actually that are showing that Internet of Things or the things that are connected to the Internet today are not very useful, and we are throwing them away after a few months of usage. One of the iconic example is the Fitbit. So I think that I'm the only one in this room that is still wearing, his Fitbit every single day for the past 4 years. The statistics show that people after 4 months, they usually, put it in the drawer and forget about it. Why? Because basically, this is what is called boring analytics. After a few days, a few months, you realize that what it's giving you is not very interesting. You know it after a few days. So it's not this dream of having the object connected and giving you this very powerful analytics that are going to change your life. I'm going to come back to that very, very soon, but basically, this is the idea. The other example that I wanted to talk about is my personal example. I happened to build my smart home for the past 17 years. I started in 1999, and I have 205 devices at home that are connected. If I had to use my 205 devices the way they are supposed to be used, I would have to use my 205 applications every day in order to control them. You can imagine that it's not very practical, and it's basically not usable, and that's not the way we are supposed to use those things. So basically what I'm saying right now is that the Internet of Things, the way it is today, doesn't work. And even if you are looking at industrial IoT, I mean, we saw in the previous panel and the one before that all those devices today in those industrial contexts, they are connected, all of them. 100% is going to be collected, is going to be captured. But at the end of the chain, 0% is being used to make decisions. In this case, this is for the offshore oil rig example, but it works with pretty much all the industrial Internet of Things examples that are out there today. And if you look at the way we are building those Internet-connected things today, we just create, intranets of things. We just create more silos. We just have, those objects in their own silos, not talking to each other. That's why we have boring analytics. That's why the Internet of Things today doesn't work. So, and yeah, of course, I wanted to show the image of this user who would have, a lot of different applications to manage all the different devices that they would have. So the vision is to say that, as we just said just before, to be able, whatever the connectivity layer is going to be able to connect all those things and to be sure that they are playing with each other. Right? So it could be Zigbee, Z-Wave, Z-whatever, or it could be Wi-Fi, or it could be Bluetooth, or it could be anything. It doesn't matter. And even the things that are not invented yet, and the protocols that are not invented yet, we want to be able to be sure that they are going to talk to each other. This is the vision. We are very, very, very far from that. And this is where I'm going to start to have a lot of friends in the room. Because what I'm saying is that if we want is the interoperability of things, which is the new definition that I propose for IoT, we are far, far to have that, and we don't have a lot of ways to do it. The reality today is that there is no standard. I'm going to ask, in this room, how many people are speaking Esperanto? I know the answer, 0. In the world today, we have about 7 billion people. About 300 of them are speaking Esperanto. Esperanto was this beautiful idea, at the end of the 19th century, where we had this language that is going to be the universal language between us humans. We are going to love each other, because we are speaking the same language. Doesn't work. Esperanto doesn't exist. And to go a step further, I'm going to say that actually there is no standard. We just said just before that we need a standard. Good luck. There won't be any standard. Standards do not exist. You are going to tell me this is bullshit. I mean, there are standards. If I take my plug, and I put it in, it goes in. Yeah, it will go in France, go in the other side of the channel. It's not there anymore. Go in the other side of the Atlantic, and then, it's not even the same voltage. So there is no standard. Sorry. And there won't be any. Why? Because there are only egos. All the big companies, what they want to own the standards. So they are going to say, okay, we are going to, create the standard, but we are going to modify it just a little bit, just enough, to be able to do something that is going to be better than the next guy, next door. And my favorite example is UPnP, DLNA, in the early 2000s. It was beautiful, good idea. We're going to be able to send, videos, audio file, whatever, between all those devices, and they're going to be able to play on any device. Very nice. Today, 7 flavors of DLNA. So there is no standard. Doesn't exist. This is the truth. This is the sad reality of this world. So, if downstairs is hell, because all this thing is downstairs, it's here, it's between us, between those objects that we cannot create any standard that is going to work with, for the object to speak to each other. So if it's the case that we have, hell downstairs, just do some basic philosophy and just assume that, in this case, upstairs is paradise. If upstairs is paradise, then the cloud is paradise. So let's do everything in the cloud. Basic, stupid philosophy, right? But I'm going to show you that it works. And what I'm going to say is basically that if we decide that we are going to connect everything in the cloud, we have to remember that the very first definition of those things was Internet of Things. So those things, somehow, they do connect to the Internet. It's the basic assumption. They do connect to the Internet. So if they connect to the Internet, I can have a virtual representation of this thing in the cloud. If it's a virtual representation, the good news is that, virtual is paradise. Again, fluffy and white. You cannot, do anything with it, but just transform very easily the data structure, and even the objects that do not exist today, you can have this virtual representation tomorrow, okay? And since it's fluffy and white, it's just data. It's just data. It's just data structure. It's just mathematics. Very, very easy to make those things to talk to each other in a few minutes. And we are going to talk about that in a few seconds. So, at the end of the day, it's only software when we connect everything upstairs. And of course, it's going to facilitate interoperability because now all the objects, they can talk to each other. Good. So, now that they are talking to each other, they are talking to each other in the same place. All the data is up there, and so all those objects, they can really, really cooperate. And it becomes possible for them to collaborate with each other and to create some real value for the users. We are going to be able to create new kinds of applications and services for the users thanks to the collaboration of those objects. You have to see the objects, the next generation of those objects, being your assistants. We are talking a lot about assistants, with Siri, with Cortana, with whatever. But now, imagine a world where all the objects are going to be your assistants because with the collective intelligence, they are going to deliver a service that they couldn't have delivered by themselves. We are going to be able to create what I call brains, which are those services and those applications that are going to just manipulate, massage the data that are up there. And of course, we are going to be now able to create real analytics, and we are going to be able to see the data with the prism of other data, other pieces. And it's going to create, new avenues for the real artificial intelligence that is needed to create those services and use machine learning, statistics, whatever you want, to create those applications and services. So this is what I'm going to call IoT, Intelligence of Things. And this is the real definition that we should drive towards. So at this point, usually I have 3 questions. 2 of them I'm going to ask them myself, and I'm going to wait for the 3rd one. Maybe somebody will have it. The 3rd one, I hate it. But I will wait for somebody to ask it, otherwise I will ask it myself. First question is, what about latency? If you send everything upstairs, it's going to be very, very slow. Remember, I'm talking about IoT, I'm not talking about changing the things. The coffee machine that I was talking about before is still going to continue to do coffee downstairs. I'm not going to say that we need to replace everything and to be sure that we are connecting everything to do everything. A switch, a light switch, works very well today. Why would I connect this thing, to do what it does very well downstairs. So latency is going to apply only for the augmented capabilities of those objects, only for the connected piece that is going to augment to assist more. The coffee machine is going to start, at the right time when you wake up. If it starts within 500 milliseconds, it's okay. The latency usually on the internet today is about, less than 500 milliseconds for a round trip. So we are okay. You didn't hear from me that I want to have, my car reacting and braking thanks to the Internet of Things. Never said that. I will never do that. Some medical devices, I'm not going to trust the Internet of Things. I'm going to trust the things. Okay? So there is a latency issue, but the latency issue, if we are talking about less than 500 milliseconds to react, is going to be okay for those augmented functionalities that we are talking about. So when I come back in my home, and when I drive, and the car knows about 50 meters or 100 meters from the home that it needs to open the gate, again, 500 milliseconds is fine. When I enter the home and the lights are going to light at the right place, 500 milliseconds is okay. Okay? So latency for augmented objects, I do not want to hear about it. Security. So what if, the bad guys from North Korea, they are looking at what I have in my fridge? Okay, might be a big deal. We heard some other examples today, that were, much more important than what is in my fridge. So we need to be sure that we have good security. The reality is that everything that is internet-related today, we trust some techniques that are out there for a while. If I'm asking, who in the room is not using a bank account online, nobody is going to raise their hand. Everybody is using a bank account online. And money is the most important thing you have, right? So you trust the internet for your money. So you might trust, the internet maybe for the what is in your fridge. We are going to be sure that we use all the latest techniques. I will never tell you that it's totally foolproof. I won't say that. But I'm going to say that we are being sure to use all the techniques that are out there, and we are going to be sure that we continue to do so with things like over-the-air updates and stuff like that. We are going to continue to improve the security and to be sure that those devices are secure. There will be issues, but we are going to make the best effort. Last question that I usually get at this point, and I'm going to ask it myself because I don't have a lot of time, so it's what if there is no internet? This is the one that pisses me off. Since the very beginning of this talk, I'm talking about Internet of Things. Okay? So don't ask me what is happening if there's no internet, because if there is no internet, there is no Internet of Things. So I don't want to hear about it. Okay? And I have one recommendation. Next time, you think about the fact that there is no internet for the Internet of Things, please light a candle for me. Okay? This is what you do usually when there is no electricity, when there is no more power, you light a candle. Do the same thing with the Internet of Things. Remember, the things, they work very well by themselves. If you augment them with some very interesting artificial intelligence capabilities, they are going to be using the internet, and they are becoming Internet of Things. For those functions, at the time of internet outage, they will not work. You are not going to die. Okay? So I don't want to hear about this one either. Okay, So now, I think that I moved this thing. Okay. So now, I'm just going to show you very quick what we did. So we have built this platform that is an open platform. I said before there is no standard. There won't be any standard. But if you are sure that you are opening and that you are using as many open standards or open things that are out there, you are going to be able to have something that is going to be self-regulated and that is going to be, usable by a lot of different people. So what we have built a place that is an open data exchange for the IoT. There are 3 layers. The first layer, very much like what the Verizon guy said, is going to be to collect the data. We're going to give you a bunch of SDKs, a bunch of APIs to be sure that you can collect all the data that you need. Okay? Any device, knowing that a device can be a cloud. Okay? Any device, any cloud, any kind of data. We give you all that. It's APIs and SDKs in any of the 10 languages that are out there that are the most common languages. Then we're going to give you a place where the data is secure and it's stored. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. And then we're going to give you another layer of SDKs and APIs where you are going to be able to access the data, to extract it, and to massage it the way you want in order to create those applications and services that are going to be magic and that I was talking about before. Very simple. It has to be very simple. If it's not simple, it doesn't work. Okay? So this is what we have done. And in addition to that, we are giving a bunch of powerful tools that are allowing you to play with all those different pieces. My bet, and what I'm saying today and on the website, if you go to arctic.cloud, you will see that we can connect any device in less than 4 minutes, as long as it's an internet device, as long as there is a path to the internet. If it's something that doesn't connect to the internet, again, don't talk to me. And the other powerful tool that we have is a tool that is allowing you to create those applications very, very fast. It's basically a rules engine, a very powerful rules engine that allows you to mix and match the data and to create those applications that are going to be very exciting. So this is what we have done in the past 4 years and that we have released in May this year. As I said, a bunch of cool tools, the rules engine. Another one that is pretty cool is a visualization tool that allows you to see on the fly the data. It's very interesting to see the data, especially when they are diverse and coming from a lot of different places, because you do not realize what kind of data you have until you sometimes see them. So we give you also this kind of tools. One thing that I want to mention, because this is what we are here for after all, we are talking about privacy and security. One stand that we have been pushing for, and it wasn't easy, frankly, in Samsung, but we did it, and we are very clear, and we are still, holding it. The data belongs to the user. It's very, very important. So there are 2 types of users in this cloud. There is the actual user of the devices, and there is the people who are making the devices. Okay? So in our case, Arctic Cloud acts as a bank. So we are just holding the data securely. Samsung doesn't own the data, but the user controls and grants access to those applications that I was talking about. The services and applications, they are using the data that me as a user, I grant to them. Okay? And of course, all the data is always encrypted. I was saying that there are 2 types of user. Another type of user is the actual owner of the device, or not the owner of the device, sorry, the manufacturer of the device. They can own pieces of data with a very specific end-user agreement that is going to be passed with the final user, where they are going to be able to look at some of the data in order to see what is the health of the device, for instance. So there might be 2 kinds of users, 2 kinds of owners of the data. So that's about what I wanted to show you today, is that it's possible to create a new kind of connectivity that is going to be simple, that is going to be not relying on all the different standards that people are trying to put downstairs that are too complicated, and that is going to create a lot of value and to create a real interoperable network, a real intelligent network between things. And the best way to play with it is to go there. It's live. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia, for this very interesting presentation. Maybe before he leaves us to catch the train, if one of you have a question, maybe we can ask him directly right now before the Meet the Speakers session, which will be without him.
Hello. You say you're acting as a bank. How about monetization of the data for the owner or for the SDK or some the usage?
So I didn't want to do a talk about what we have done and to be too Samsung-centric, but of course, I mean, we did that as a business. So there are several ways to make money in this case. So the device manufacturer can make money by connecting to the device because of this interoperability, to the cloud because of this interoperability. So of course, we make money because we provide the pipe, basically, but they make money because they are going to be able to provide services that are going to be potentially paying services that are going to use specifically their devices, and then they are going to get back some bounty on whatever we are going to make. We don't announce the numbers right now, but like every other store, we are going to take a piece of any transaction that is going to go through the pipe. Okay? So there is a basic free service for you to try, for the makers to try, for the people who create devices to try. But once you start to be in production and when you start to make money yourself with that, we take a piece of it, most likely in the 10–20%.
Thanks.
Anybody else with an additional question? Okay. So thank you very much, Julia, for this presentation.